Greetings, everybody. Hello, hello, welcome. I'm Susan with the Food Systems Leadership Network. Thanks for being here for the July Community Food Projects Community of Practice. Um, would love for folks to just say hello and start to warm up the chat. Let's use this chat function liberally today. So here's a little prompt. Since we're going to be chatting about compliance, let's go the opposite way in the spirit of non-compliance and resistance. What is your favorite rule to break? So however you want to interpret that, just throw it in there as you're introducing yourself, jaywalking. Like I was thinking the same thing a minute ago. Um, yeah, nice. Okay, good giggles, you guys. So yeah, share where you're calling in from though, so we can get a sense too of just how we're covering the different corners of the nation and other places. Um, Sometimes folks are calling in from like tropical islands in other countries, so would love to hear where you're at and just share, what it is that is your favorite rule to break. I'm going to get us kicked off and I'll be handing over the mic here shortly to our guest speakers. We have Lisa Misch and Edna Rodriguez Rancière from Red Clover Collaborative that are going to be talking about keeping it legit, strengthening nonprofit compliance in a time of heightened risk for nonprofits. So we'll be getting into that in a couple of minutes. Just a reminder that this community of practice, this community food projects community of practice, is a partnership between the Food Systems Leadership Network and ISED Solutions through the National Training and Technical Assistance Grant through a NIFA USDA award, providing support to community food projects grantees. And I just know that this is like a really busy time for a lot of folks, particularly in community food systems. So we appreciate you making time to be here today. Also, nervous systems are working on overdrive these days. So just give yourself a minute to just really arrive here. Hopefully that lovely music was soothing. Take a couple deep breaths. Remember that we are human beings and bodies. And I like to imagine us sitting around a table together so that we can just have some great conversation in this community of practice and really lean into the community in the community of practice. Let's see. I did want to say it was really great seeing a lot of y'all in Portland last month. Or was that? Yeah, last month. Raise your hand if you were in Portland at the Resilience and Resistance Conference. I see some physical hands. I see some virtual hands. Kate, thank you for all the beautiful pictures that you took. I checked those out. It was awesome. It was so lovely to be in physical presence with each other. So thanks to you, those of you who were able to make it out there. And we were just chatting yesterday as a national coordinating committee about when's the next one going to happen, because we need these times to get together in person, and just how like nourishing it was to be together. I'm going to quickly just give us an overview. We all know there is increased scrutiny in the nonprofit sector right now. A lot of organizations are having funding cut or terminated. And there's also, a landscape shift. There's threats of changing 501c3 rules. There's just a lot going on. It's hard to keep up with everything. And as people committed to building community food systems, it is essential that we keep our organizational institutions strong and resilient so that we can keep serving our communities no matter what is happening. Compliance is always important for us as 501c3s, but it's particularly so right now. So this is a good opportunity to do a compliance hygiene check. So that's what we'll be doing today. And before we get going, as we do always in the community of practice, I want to bring up the Food Systems Leadership Network community agreements. We honor and celebrate our collective wisdom. Together, we know a lot. There are each and every one of you bring something to this conversation. We are mindful of our power, privilege, and how much space we are taking up. We take responsibility for impact, regardless of intent. We give grace to one another and approach conflict with curiosity. We challenge assumptions, respect our differences, and speak from our own experience. We honor confidentiality, lessons leave, and stories stay. We take care of our own physical, mental, and emotional needs, and we meet each other where we are. Showing up is enough, and listening is participating. So every time we come together, we are culture creators and culture stewards. So I invite all of you into co-creating this culture of support and safety together. Okay, stop share. Just a couple of quick housekeeping reminders on Zoom. We love seeing your faces. So if you're able to put on your camera, please do. It's really nice to talk to live humans. But also, if you're just listening in, that is totally okay as well. Just a quick reminder to please stay on mute when you're not talking, but don't let that mute button stop you from chiming in. So really want to hear your voices. It's really nice to hear folks. So, raise your hand, unmute, chime in, use that chat. We want to connect with each other. We are going to do breakouts after the presentation from Lisa and Edna. It'll be about 5 people or so. So if at any point you're in a breakout and you're just like, if you don't want to engage or you're not feeling the vibes, you can always come back or stay in the main room. We are not allowing AI bots into the community of practice right now. We're moving those in the waiting room. So just a heads up about that. And we will record the content, so the presentation part today, but we won't record our discussion so that we can all feel safe to express ourselves and be messy together and not feel like it's going to be shared out with a whole bunch of people. All right. So talking about nonprofit compliance might bring up some feelings for you all. I know that it does for me. This topic may give you hives, or you might feel really confident about it. Or it might even be totally new territory for some folks. So wherever you are in the spectrum today is totally okay. We want to normalize conversations about organizational capacity, risk, and resilience, and build our collective muscle around it. So I want to launch a very quick poll just to get a sense of where folks are entering into this conversation today. So, do you see a poll? Okay. So this is a spectrum of compliance feels. Where do you sit on the spectrum? You got it covered. You dream in 990s. Do you know enough to stay out of trouble? You have a Google Doc titled Stuff I Should Probably Figure Out. And then do tears count as documentation? This gives me full body hives. Give another minute or so for folks to fill this out. Let's get like 2 more people. We've got about 75, almost a 75%. Okay. I will end the poll and share results. So here's where we're at. We've got 2 people that feel really strong in this. So, okay, those 2 folks, as if they're not our presenters, that I would really love for y'all to please share. Please chime in today and share what you know. We also have a lot of folks that know enough to stay out of trouble, probably. So that's awesome. We've got a good critical mass here of folks that are feeling really confident and know a lot about this topic. And then, maybe another 30 or 40% that are in the, oh gosh, there's a lot for me to learn. And that's awesome. You were in the right place. So thanks for being here and playing along with that poll. And I think with this, I am going to pass the mic over to Edna and Lisa from Red Clover Collaborative, our guest speakers today. Thank you both so much for making time to be here with us today.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Thank you. Lisa, I will pass it to you. Go first.
Great. All right. Compliance. This is exciting. So Susan set this up well, but we're in a time where compliance is always important, but with extra hostility and risk in the current environment with the current administration, now's a great time to sort of check in and see how we're doing, because compliance is also a very easy thing to target if organizations are going to be targeted. In terms of our presentation today, we'll start by talking a little bit about who we are. We have another quiz to sort of warm us up in terms of what's our current understanding, awareness of different compliance things, because a lot of compliance is just you don't know until you know. Then we'll talk about compliance, just why it's important, different areas of it. And really, we want to get to this idea of reframing compliance as a form of organizational empowerment and something that we can control as part of our mission. And then, like Susan said, we'll talk a bit about breakouts and discussions. So my name is Lisa Misch, my co-presenter, Edna Rodriguez. We are co-founders of Red Clover Collaborative, which is a capacity building initiative where we're working one-on-one and across movements to provide trainings and technical assistance that are going to help organizations kind of meet their mission of transforming food and farm systems. And one of the beginning projects that we've been working on is creating this space called Federal Funding Matters, which provides an opportunity for organizations that have been impacted by federal funding cuts or pauses, or just have been impacted by administration changes to share information and to strategize. And again, this topic of compliance has come up because a lot of justice-based organizations are feeling this extra hostility and scrutiny of their work, and compliance is coming into question. Edna, anything you'd add to that?
Sure. Well, first introducing myself, my name's Edna Rodriguez. In addition to being co-founder for Red Clover, I'm also still co-director, co-executive director at RAFI for the next couple of months, and I'm shifting out of that role, just in case people are confused and they've seen my name in both places. As an FYI, apologies before for immediately passing it to Lisa, but right when you handed it over, Susan, my mother came in and asked me if I wanted more chicken, and insisted on me answering her. So even though I've said a million times that I was doing a presentation. I'm beaming in today from the Dominican Republic, which is where I have relocated to. So if my internet goes in and out, that would be why. As far as compliance is concerned, I think Lisa covered most of it. Two things I want to add. One is I don't think you necessarily have to know everything there is about compliance. The important thing is to know that it's something that's highly important and that it should be somebody's job, either internally or if you outsource it. You don't have to be an expert in all things compliance related. And then the second aspect, I think, is as a person of color, for BIPOC organizations, I think this is a very sensitive area, especially in this environment that we're in right now. And historically, because people of color are generally not trusted with money in the ways that we would have liked to have been or be presently. So for me, that was my experience with compliance. Coming in as an ED for an organization that was historically white, I took over as ED and I was very vigilant about the compliance piece. And so took it upon myself to learn everything there was to know. I'll pass it back to Lisa.
Great. So next we want to move into more of an interactive Mentimeter quiz. For folks who haven't used this before, you can either scan the QR code if you have a phone next to you. That will take you right to the quiz. Or if you are on a laptop computer, you can open up a browser, menti.com, and you enter that 8-digit code. And I'll just leave this up here for a second so folks can get it. And then I don't know if someone can put in the chat just the menti.com and the code so it lives there too. Okay, let me switch over to the quiz.
Can you put the number up really fast again?
Yeah, maybe
The code?
or yeah.
Or just drop it in the chat. Two, 5, 6, 6. Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, let me reshare that. Great. Okay, and people are giving the thumbs up just to let We know that you're there, so I'll go to this first question. All right. Thinking about your organization, which of the following documents here do you think you or someone else at your organization could locate in less than 5 minutes? We have the IRS determination letter, your organizational bylaws, IRS Form 1023, the minutes from your last board meeting, a bank account statement from March of this year, your charitable solicitation license, and your 2025 board approved budget.
I think it would be good to also note that these are not all the things that you're supposed to be able to find. These are
It's just
just
a
some
smattering.
random, yeah, random selection.
Give it another couple seconds.
It does not allow you to check all the options. Does that mean you can find all those things under 5 minutes?
Could be. Yeah, it
I
might have
don't know.
been just five. That was my own settings set up. But okay, we have about 20, or I missed what's in the chat. We have about 29 people responded, and meeting minutes, that
Ooh,
seems highest. Charitable solicitation license and the 1023 on the lower end. Oh, and bylaws, I guess, are coming out. That's the highest. That's very good. All right. Does your organization have directors and officers insurance? Yes, no, I'm not sure.
I'm am I off mute? Super curious if the person who says no is a fiscally sponsored project.
Okay, we're about 27 responses there. Most of us, yes. Next up, above what donation amount does the IRS require 501(c)(3)s to provide a contribution acknowledgement? This is a sliding scale one, so from $0 to $1,000, what is the threshold for sending an acknowledgement to donors? Okay, we got some that are just at 0. It doesn't actually tell me how much people are entering, but let's say about 500, about 250, 50, 100. Give it another couple responses. Okay, so highest among 0 and 500. I'm guessing 500 here. I don't know if oh wait, enter to show correct answer. So 250. So someone got that right. Good job. Okay, this next one is more of a scenario. So the question isn't showing up yet. This is just the scenario. An organization wants to find someone to manage a small program that they have. The role will require an estimated 10 hours a week from January to September and then 20 hours from October to December. And the compensation is budgeted at $35 an hour. They will be expected to submit invoices monthly, and the person will be required to work from the organization's office once a week. Would this role meet the IRS's definition of an independent contractor? Yes, no, I'm not sure. 26, 27. Okay, this is kind of across the board in terms of answers. And there are like a number of factors that play into whether an IRS would consider someone an employee versus a contractor. And the scenario we gave you is pretty narrow. It doesn't include all the things that might factor into what it is. A lot of the things in the scenario do suggest more of an employee, I would say, than a contractor. So this plays into the question of are contractors in an organization, actually set up in a way that would be similar to IRS requirements? And I think there's one more question. Yeah, so this is more of a word cloud. Just what words come to mind when you think about compliance? Either what it is, how it makes you feel, what comes to mind? Oh, documentation, policies, procedures. Gotta do it like that. Not straightforward, annoying but forthright. Paranoid. Oh, I like the eh.
Some of these are hilarious.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna come back to the Mentimeter a bit later, so you can keep it up in your browser or your phone. Um, but oh, vomit. Okay, yeah. So there's lots of lots of feelings about what compliance feels like. All right. Let me go back to the slides and I think you're up.
If you're able to share the slides, that would be super helpful.
Let me do that.
As she's bringing that up, I just want to mention about compliance. So today we're talking about what compliance means for nonprofit organizations. We're assuming 501c3s.
You feel like you
Um,
got that.
you are in the wrong. You are in the RAFI. You have a RAFI tab open.
Whoops.
It's okay. So what we're talking about today mostly is 501c3, relevant to 501c3s, nonprofit organizations. If you have a fiscal sponsor, good news, the majority of the compliance requirements are not yours to deal with. They're your fiscal sponsor's responsibility. And it's also their responsibility to tell you what aspects of compliance you're responsible for. This is why when people come to me and say they want to start a nonprofit, to which I usually say, please don't, I recommend a fiscal sponsor precisely for that reason, because it is a lot to manage for small organizations. So what do I mean by compliance? I think the word cloud said it all. Is essentially following all of the various laws, rules, regulations, and commitments that are applicable to nonprofit organizations at the federal level, at state level, and local levels. It also not included in this working definition. There's also compliance with any contracts that you may sign. So that includes grant agreements and what you agreed to, the terms that you agreed to when you accept those funds and you sign on the dotted line to accept the money. Why compliance? I don't think anybody joins the nonprofit sector or an organization, except for perhaps a small minority of folks, to follow rules and do this kind of work. Most of us join nonprofit organizations because we're passionate about mission-driven work. Unfortunately, we still have to, as a 501c3, abide by the various rules and regulations that govern tax exempt status to ensure that you don't lose your tax exempt status and you're able to continue to do your work, focus on your mission, and do the good that you planned on doing. So what's at risk if you don't, if you just decide, you know what, I'm not going to be a rule follower. I don't want to bother with this as a pain in the butt. You could lose your 501c3 status. And that's the biggest one, especially in this environment, with the Trump administration continuing to put pressure on the sector, especially those that are being vocal. I also want to make sure that folks know we're not trying to scare people. We want people to know what's at stake. And then you choose what risk you want to take. But you should understand the level of risk that's there and then decide what to do with it. So what else is at risk? You could have to pay fines or have penalties. You could lose funding. I'm sorry, I have the dog knocking on my door. You could have a funder pull their funding. Solicitation licenses, which showed up as a low number in the initial quiz, gives you the ability to raise money in your state or other states. If you lose that, you're technically not supposed to be raising money without one. God forbid an IRS audit, lawsuits, and so on. So there's a lot of risk, and a little goes a long way in preventing and minimizing risk. Move on to the next slide, Lisa. So areas of compliance, it's a lot. I don't think there's an expectation that any one person should have to learn all of these. I think it's good to be informed, but it's everything from the corporate filings, how you incorporate filing annual reports that are required by the state solicitation licenses, how you manage funds, grant funds particularly, and how you record your financial transactions. It also includes employment law, and the independent contractor classification is an easy one. It's one of the recommendations from groups like Democracy Forward that they are encouraging organizations to take a look at because it's low-hanging fruit for the federal government if they want to go after nonprofits that are vocal or engaged in advocacy work. A really big one for advocacy groups is ensuring that you know the rules and regulations around lobbying restrictions. You can lobby, you just need to understand how and to what extent and what's required of you. I by no means want to discourage any organization from not engaging in lobbying work or advocacy. In fact, it's the reverse. And I will pass it back to you, Lisa. Is that the end of my slides? I believe so.
Great. Okay, I might actually go back to the word cloud for a second. Thank you. So this is, what a lot of our thoughts are about compliance coming in. And it's a mixture of, what do we think compliance is? It's the contract, it's the rules, it's the regulations, and then also how it makes us feel anxiety, paranoia, having to double check. It's just something we have to do. So there are some in here where, it's important. I would say there's some positive connotations to compliance, but majority more in the negative side of how we feel about compliance as an area of work. And if that's the case, I mean, it's no wonder that it can be kind of lower down in terms of our priorities. So something that we'd like to kind of introduce is a different frame on thinking about compliance as a part of your organization and a part of organizational empowerment, in a similar way as you might think about your own personal health and preventative health. Because you as yourself as a person, you know that there's a lot of actions and behaviors that you can control, but there are a lot of things outside of your control that can impact how you are feeling as a person. Things like your genetics, viruses, bacteria, just accidents that are going to happen. These are just things that are existing in the environment, but there's a lot of things within our own circle of control that can help. Things like going to the doctor, having a balanced diet, having a well-rounded lifestyle. These are things that either can kind of bolster our immunity to different situations, or help us notice when things are off. So when we're thinking about compliance, it's not like the goal is to stop things from happening because that's not realistic. It's how can we create a personal plan for ourselves to increase sort of our immunity or our ability to diagnose and keep a issue from being a catastrophic thing and maybe just having it be a minor bump. So thinking about kind of different categories of personal health and wellness. If we're thinking about exercise, that's something that we routinely do. It's to keep us moving, it's to keep things healthy. You could think about different areas of compliance like professional development around policies, keeping up with different rules changes, reviewing things on a continual basis. These are things that can be done to make sure that, okay, we are keeping track, we're keeping things running smoothly. If we're thinking about vitamins, we take those to keep kind of internal systems, the internal functioning, things running smoothly. Again, like increase our immunity system. Our policies and procedures are sort of like our internal vitamins of making sure that we have clear processes, things are running smoothly, they're running the way that they're supposed to be running. lab work, that might be something that we do to sort of check whether different indicators are within a normal, healthy range. And so we might be reviewing our financial statements on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, to make sure that different financial factors are also within a healthy range for an organization. Annual physical, that's something we just want to do once a year to see how we're doing, in the same way that we definitely want to file an annual 990 and do an annual audit. And lastly, health insurance. That's just, that's something that we're buying up front to make sure that if something catastrophic comes along, it's not going to be kind of the end. We have ways to kind of navigate through that. So again, there's this way that we can think about compliance, not just as this is something we have to do, and more so it's a plan that you're going to create that includes preventative medicine, things that are minimum basic requirements, regular maintenance, audits, and checks. That's part of it. And then there's also kind of the lifestyle and self-care element of it, of how are we embodying this practice of being aware of checking in and maintaining things. Those are the things that collectively can be in control and increase our overall resilience. Um, and I guess, another thing I would say here is that a lot of these elements of compliance that Edna listed earlier, not all of them are like required things that an organization has to do. It's not a complete checklist, but it all has to do with risk of different situations. So you might not wear a helmet while you ride a bike. That could be your choice, but you are accepting a certain level of risk by not doing that. In the same way, you might look through different compliance aspects and say, like, I don't think we need a policy for how we reimburse travel expenses. That might be fine. It could go completely fine. But you're accepting a certain level of risk of if something doesn't happen the right way and then it gets noticed and called out. So one difference I would say between sort of a personnel health preventative plan and an organizational plan is that it's not just your individual risk at stake. If you're talking about an organization, that's other staff members, that's stakeholders that are served by your organization. So that should, be taken into account when you're looking at a plan and deciding where you're willing to take risk and what the potential consequences of not doing something would be. And is there anything you would add to that?
No, I think you captured it. The accountability and transparency piece, I think it's a reminder that we, as nonprofit organizations, are serving a greater community. And we talk a lot about accountability, and compliance is sort of at the heart of accountability for the financial management in an organization. So it's can be tedious, but it's an important thing to have at minimum awareness of.
Right. And I mean, this is not obviously sort of the deep dive on all compliance topics, because that would, one, take a long time and probably be a bit boring if it was just super in depth. But I think the main thing I want to repeat here is that compliance is in your realm of control and can keep a potential issue from either being like a minor blip or sort of a catastrophic disturbance. And so as a part of fulfilling your mission, the compliance is central to make sure that you're not sort of at risk of being thrown off or buffeted by other kind of attacks or threats that may be coming in. I think at this point we could stop and see if there's any questions showing up in the chat or if anyone wants to come off mute.